Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of the Road to Feed the Master series. It's been a while, I know, I hope I will not be too rusty after this break, but the point is, well, I haven't played so much lately. Thankfully though, it is summer holidays finally, therefore I have some time and possibility to play in the tournaments, and I did so. I played in the Grand Hotel Kielce Chess Open at the very beginning of July, and therefore I am back here on the channel to give you guys the analysis of my 9 runs of the tournament. So hopefully you will enjoy the next 9 days with me. And in order to show you how it started, let's see the first game, in which I got paired against a grandmaster, Volodymyr Vetoshko from Ukraine, rated over 2500. So as you can tell, already a tough opponent, especially since I played with black pieces. Not only that, there was little to no time for preparation for that game, so all I knew was that my opponent will probably go with d4 on the move number 1, and I was not mistaken. However, I didn't have enough time to really prepare anything specific against him, because lately I've been working on some stuff against d4, but each opening I did kind of briefly, not deeply. And when you play against Grandmaster, this is what you should do. I went for the Nimzoden. Normally I would go for some Queen's Gambit declined transposition, let's say. However, I spotted that the opponent plays something that I feel uncomfortable with. So I wanted to play Bishop b4, and the move that he chose I did not expect. I feel like Queen c2 was his option mostly, after which I had some lines prepared. After e3 I didn't. And funny thing is that in this moment I knew that the game might go into the, let's say, a little bit of an opening trap that I fell into few years back, like 3 or 4 years ago. And then from that moment on, I started giving this trap to my students, and I played it also a little bit, so that I got some great positions with white pieces. And I'm not sure what happened, guys, but in here, even though I knew that the b6 move that I chose is not the best, because after e3 you're supposed to, let's say, castle and fight for the center mostly, I played it anyway, and after 92 the knights are connected very nicely, and the point is that a3 is incoming, so the exchange on c3 might not make enough sense as of now. And still I didn't, let's say, change anything in my play, so I knew that bishop a6 is the main line here, trying to make the c4 pawn look vulnerable, because it is, right? The knight has blocked the bishop. So yeah, I'm not sure what I was exactly thinking, but from what I remember, I knew that after bishop b7 initially I was planning on taking on c3 after a3 was played, but I remember the line that I have prepared myself with white pieces, that there is the bishop d3 move, after which I knew that as black I cannot really take on g2, because after rook g1, bishop b7, e4 there is an amazing center for the opponent, open g file, there will be open diagonal with the queen entering the game and so on, and I'm in real danger. But initially I wanted to play d5 in here, that I knew that is okay. At the same time though, I was unsure if that's the position I would like to play, because white holds the bishop pair, I don't, my one bishop is blocked, so like I was really inconsistent with my thoughts. So after e3 I chose b6, bishop b7 line with the hopes of taking on c3, but then I said, okay, maybe I should not do it, I should drop back the bishop, and there you go, guys, there is the d5 move, closing my light squared bishop. This is the exact trap that I was referring to at the beginning. It's not like I am losing the game immediately, but strategically speaking, I'm a big trouble, because my bishop is locked. I am lacking space and activity, and even though this pawn might be overpushed a little and giving me the dark squares around it, I cannot really exploit them. So already after castle e4, my position is really not so great on the move number 8, and I knew that, well, I'm worse. So I fell into the trap again after few years, so I did not learn my lesson, and this is the punishment. I will have to play a very tough position against Grandmaster, which is usually not the easiest way to, to do. Anyway, in here I believe that I have now checked rook e8 is the main line, trying to create some space for the bishop. I, on the other hand, played d6 move, hoping to create some space for the knight. So after g3 that my opponent chose, I took on d5, and I might have played knight b to d7, but then I thought, okay, so what? Like, where is the knight supposed to go? Both squares are not so great because the knight can be pushed away, and that's that. So instead of doing that, I went for c6 move, trying to break through this all white pawn chain in center. Opponent obviously though ignores it, simply develops the bishop, solidifies the d5 pawn. And in here I had two choices for the game. I could have either taken on d5 with the hopes that, you know, this is the isolated pawn, I have 1-2, and obviously it guarantees the space for white. At the same time, it might be the target of my, let's say, attack. So I knew that objectively I will not be by any means better, and even I will not be equal. And initially I was giving this position some hopes. However, though, the more I thought about it, the more I started estimating correctly that c6 is a big weakness in my camp. So for example, if I continue with like knight b to d7, after castles, knight d4, knight c6 is coming, knight b5, so all of the white holes in my position will make my position quite miserable, let's say. Therefore, instead of that, I chose rook e8 now, and after castle, bishop f8, trying to, let's say, keep the pawns on the board so that I can hit this one, let's say, and I might have some possibilities of closing down the center with c5 move, which is exactly what happened, because after knight d4, I've played c5, my opponent kind of baited me to do it because his knight was rerouting itself to f5, an active square. At this point, I am already in tough spot because, well, where is my play, right? The type of structure that I got in here is a little bit like the Benoni type, but my bishop is on f8, a passive one. Usually in the Benoni you would already have the bishop on g7, right? For me it would take at least two more moves to do it. Also, since the knight is already on f5, g6 might not be even playable because of some knight h6 checks. So that's the problem, my bishop is passive. The other thing that you would like to achieve in the Benoni type of structure is the b5 move. As of now, I cannot really perform it, so either I can try to prepare it, but then a4 and so on. So, I mean, there is move 14. I know I'm worse, and what's even worse, I know that I cannot do much. So, even though I knew that objectively the plan that I chose in here is not the best, I felt like practically it gives me at least some chances, because I chose bishop a6 since the bishop was not doing much in here anyway, because now I am hitting the rook, and after the rook goes away I can play b5. So yeah, the bishop has just gotten away from the pawn chain, and now I am anyway closing it down, but the point was to at least get this b5 move. I at least get some, you know, space on the queen side and maybe build on that. However, though, I knew from the distance that e5 might be the possibility, because since the bishop went away from the diagonal, this one might be trying to open up and take my rook, but I was happy with that. This is the exact choice that I've made. I was willing to give up some material in order to just grasp at least some activity. So when I saw e5 on the board, I was happy, you know, I took, and after d6 I simply developed the knight, and I was hoping to see bishop takes a8, because as of now, you know, those are the weak squares. I have only a pawn for exchange disadvantage, materially speaking, so it's not that bad. I might try to use the bishop pair, I might try to get something going on the queen side, like, you know, some active play. However, though, you know, my opponent is a grandmaster, he knows that material is not everything, and instead of going for the material advantage, he continued with the positional one. Very good approach. He played bishop g5, which from the distance I saw, but I didn't really think about. The point is that he knows that this bishop is by far a better piece than this rook, and instead of exchanging those, he just simply puts more and more pressure to my position, because at this point, yes, I have one more pawn. However, the opponent got the advantage of this one. I am really passive, and he just continue pushing the initiative, so that's nice of him. All right, after bishop g5, I decided that, okay, maybe now is the time to go away with the rook from the attack. And after knight d5, I had a tough choice to make. Plenty of moves are not that great. Knight f2 e7 might be coming, knight d2 e7, knight c7 is a fork. This is pressurized, so plenty of stuff going on. And Yeah, I didn't know how to react properly. What I was trying to achieve in some variations was to give away exchange anyway, so that my knight would be able to reroute itself to d4. I know it may seem crazy, but one exemplary variation I can give you is, for example, if I pushed away the bishop, now the knight might jump to e7 with the idea of going to c6, which, by the way, I've missed during the game. Nevertheless, the point is that, for example, if I would have spotted that, in such position I would not take with the knight, but with the pawn. Furthermore, let's say weakening my king's position, but at least giving myself a shot of activating the knight, because the knight in here would be just an amazing one. So at least yet again some maybe counterplay. However, though, as I've said, this knight c6 jump I completely missed in the game. And I also disregarded h6 as a move for some different reason, and I played something that just looks not that great. So even though it may have worked in my eyes concretely on the variations, it didn't actually. So rook e6 was my choice, trying to solidify a little bit the knight on f6 and also set up some exchange sacrifice on d6. If it worked out, I would be having two pawns in exchange for an exchange, so materially speaking I would be equal. I would get rid of the initiative at least a little bit, so I felt like this might be the good choice. However, yet again, knight f2 e7 is on the board, and as I've said, I have completely missed the knight c6 idea. So what I was calculating mostly in here was a move like a knight c7 as an attempt to just simply deliver the fork, after which I would indeed take on d6, and after knight c7 I would simply take on c7, and voila, I'm not that pinned anymore. Materially speaking, I'm all right. So I felt like, okay, this might be the good way to go, let's say, about the position. And yeah, but you cannot calculate such variations and be happy about them if you miss simple check and then fork, because in here the problem is that I am giving away this exchange and I am left with this rook which I wanted to sacrifice in the first place. So it's not the exchange I wanted to give away. That's the problem. And yeah, I mean, if you miss the fork, what can you do? So after knight c6, I just went away with the queen. He took, I took, he exchanged. Yet again, instead of taking with the knight, I took with the pawn. But the difference now is that because this rook is still on the board, because this bishop is still on the board, I don't have an easy route with my knight to d4. I am simply too slow, too weak. My position is uncoordinated, like everything worked not so well. And not only that, my opponent can just simply go for the king side attack, just like that. Queen h5 is on the board, bishop e4 is coming, and like, what can I do? My pieces are so misplaced that I cannot do much. So I started with bishop g7, so that after bishop e4 I would have had like h6 maybe, but obviously the pawn on f7 was hanging. I took the pawn on d6, rook a to d1, bringing another piece into the game, and yeah, I've played some more moves like b4. I'm not really sure why and what for, but after knight e7, hitting my rook and threatening with checkmate, I couldn't have played a worse move than I did in the game, because I took on a3, and at this point I didn't even see that the checkmate in one is threatened. So like, yeah, after some time, especially after this bishop g5 knight d5 combination of moves from my opponent, I just simply collapsed. Like I couldn't calculate properly, I couldn't evaluate properly, I've missed simple fork, I've missed mate in one. So all in all, I would have hoped for a much better game against the Grandmaster. It didn't happen though, so the only thing that was positive from this game was the fact that I lost, let's say, with black, so I would have a chance to bounce back with white pieces in the next round, but it was obviously a wake-up call, because losing within the first 30 moves, even if it's against Grandmaster, it's not a good sign. So yeah, and this was it, a cold shower if you may say that, and yeah, that's that. I don't have any more comments on that. I hope I will learn my opening lesson and I will not fall into the trap for the third time in the future, but we'll see. At this point though, I would like to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, let's say, short analysis, because yeah, I was crushed. And with that, I would like to invite you for the tomorrow analysis of the next round. Hopefully you will like it more, And yeah, see you. Thank you all for watching, and bye bye.